I'd like to invite up the founder of Moms Demand Action, Shannon Watts.
Thank you to everyone gathered here today and to Governor McKee. My name is Shannon Watts. I'm the founder of Moms Demand Action, the nation's largest grassroots gun safety organization. Following the horrific mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde and all of the countless incidents of gun violence that tears apart our communities in this country, Americans are rising up and demanding more than thoughts and prayers from lawmakers. Thankfully, lawmakers at all levels of government are stepping up to address this epidemic that kills over 110 Americans every day and wounds hundreds more. In fact, gun violence is now the leading cause of death among American children and teens. We know these laws save lives. And we know that Moms Demand Action and Students Demand Action volunteers, especially our legislative lead, Jennifer Boylan, along with Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence and survivors, will never stop working to pass legislation that saves lives. You have been relentless and selfless and tireless in your advocacy in Rhode Island, and that's what makes it so meaningful to stand with all of you today. In fact, the last time I was here was in 2019, and I joined hundreds of volunteers to support gun safety bills, including the high-capacity magazine limit bill the governor is signing today. The unglamorous heavy lifting of grassroots activism is a marathon, not a sprint. You have spent countless hours at committee hearings and gun bill hearings and committee votes, and on top of it all, you've had to go toe-to-toe with gun extremists. But as I always say, don't mess with a mom. We will always fight like hell to protect our communities and our families, and we will never give up, and if you close a door, we will come in the window. The sea of determined moms in red shirts who show up over and over again is what Michigan's lieutenant governor recently told me was big mom energy. We can't move our current lawmakers on gun safety, not all of them, unfortunately. So when we don't, we encourage them to run for office themselves. In fact, former Moms Demand Action volunteer Justine Caldwell is now a state representative and the sponsor of the landmark legislation we are here to celebrate today. Thank you, Representative Caldwell. I want to thank our partners in the community, our leaders in the General Assembly, Governor McKee, and all of Rhode Island's general officers. We are grateful for the bold leadership of Speaker Shekarchi, President Ruggiero, who navigated very complicated dynamics in all of their chambers and never wavered in bringing these bills to the floor for a vote. We also owe a debt of gratitude to the Attorney General, Noronha, Lieutenant Governor Matos, Senate Majority Leader McCaffrey, Chairs Coyne and Craven, Whip Goodwin, Representatives Caldwell, Felix, and Tanzi for championing these bills. Elected officials are finally realizing it is more of a political liability to oppose gun safety legislation than to support it. And that's because gun safety isn't just good policy, it is good politics. What you have done in Rhode Island will save so many lives and serve as a best practice across the country. And with that, it is my honor to introduce a true gun sense champion who has been a vocal leader in pushing for these bills to be sent to his desk, Governor Dan McKee.
Today is about taking action and and saving lives. It's about coming together and stepping up to protect the people of the state of Rhode Island. And this doesn't happen without a strong team. So I want to thank, please bear with me, but there's been many, many people and many organizations, Shannon, that have really stepped up here in Rhode Island, as you've recognized. So to all the advocates, to Shannon, founder of Moms Demand Action, to Jennifer with our local Moms Demand Action in Rhode Island, and all the people who are here, proudly wearing the red shirts. Rhode Island General Officers, House Majority Leader Blazewski, Senate Majority Leader McCaffrey, Senate Majority Whip Goodwin, thanks, Mary Ellen, Chairwoman Coyne, Representative Tanzi, Representative Caldwell, Representative Felix, Sydney, Cedric, who's our board chair of Rhode Island, Sydney, Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence, Colonel Weaver, and our Rhode Island Police Chiefs Associations with Chief Corrigan here, as well as Chief Lynch, are here today. That's just a sampling of the work that has been done, but that's definitely a strong list of people who have been involved with this effort. So give all of yourselves a really strong round of applause. Yes. Our nation is in crisis. And I would say, I was talking to Shannon earlier today about it takes people to really be advocating, unfortunately, over a long period of time to actually get things done. It's the work that is done over a period of time that puts you in a position where you can take advantage of the time frames that we live in, and this is a crisis, but actually answer that crisis today. And it's because of the work that is done in advance. This crisis has taken too many lives and torn apart too many families. After the tragic shootings in New York, in Texas, there was a call to action to address this crisis throughout the country, but right here in the state of Rhode Island. And today, Rhode Island is answering that call. We knew that this was the moment to take action, and lack of action was not an option. Not an option for our kids or our loved ones. Thanks to all of you today, we're taking action and saving lives. And as governor, representing the people of the state of Rhode Island, I'm proud to be signing into law a historic legislative package. A ban on large capacity magazines, raising the age to purchase for firearms to the age 21, prohibit the open carry of any loaded rifle or shotgun. The work isn't over, but progress has been made today. And I want to give a special shout out to the members of the General Assembly, those who provided the leadership to bring us to this point. Yes, please. And I can give a if I could say and personalize this as well, I want to thank the moms who demand action on behalf of all the dads that are with you and have been strong about it. And many of those are in our General Assembly, both the moms and the dads. Together, no matter what happens in Congress, but we're hopeful, right, Shannon, that something's going to happen, Rhode Island will continue to take action and save lives. So I want to thank everybody that had brought us to this point today, and I am looking forward to putting my signature on those bills on behalf of the people of the state of Rhode Island. With that, I'd like to introduce our House Majority Leader, Chris Blagajewski. Chris, come on up.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining here today to sign into law this important package of gun safety legislation. I'd like to start by thanking the sponsors of these bills. On the House side, Rep. Justine Caldwell, Rep. Teresa Tanzi, and Rep. Leonela Felix. Please join me in a round of applause for their leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to thank our House Judiciary Committee, Chair Robert Craven, Vice Chair Carol McEntee, and Vice Chair Jason Knight, who stewarded these bills through the committee process. Additionally, I'd like to thank my partners in House leadership, in particular Speaker Shekarchi, Whip Kazarian, and Floor Manager Edwards, who got these bills over the finish line. Ladies and gentlemen, also, yes, I also want to thank our partners in the Senate, President Ruggiero, Leader McCaffrey, Whip Goodwin, and Chair Coyne. Thank you for joining with us in getting these bills done. Thank you. I also just want to recognize some of my colleagues that are here today to join and have been supporters of these bills from the beginning. Rep. Michelle McGaugh, Liana Kassar, Rep. Greg Amore, Rep. Brandon Potter, and Rep. Deborah Giro. Please round of applause for them as well. Oh, of course, and my goodness, Marcia Rangland-Vassell, who ran on this issue and brought it to the State House. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. To me, ladies and gentlemen, while this may be a celebration, today is also a solemn reminder of what brought us here today. I was in high school when Columbine happened. That day in 1999 shook the country, but it did not stop the violence. Horrifyingly, mass shootings in the United States have gotten more frequent and more deadly. Las Vegas, Orlando, Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook, Parkland, the list goes on. And more recently, Buffalo and Uvalde. Every day I walk my daughter to her elementary school. Our morning conversations are the highlight of my day. I drop her off at the front door and give her one last wave goodbye as she turns the corner to her classroom. After the events of Robb Elementary School on May 24th, on the next day and for the rest of the school year, as I turned to head home, I just kept thinking about those grieving families in Texas who don't get to have that same morning conversation ever again. And while our federal government remains divided and unresponsive, today, ladies and gentlemen, we take action through common sense legislation aimed at preventing such terrible acts of violence from happening here in our state. So thank you all very much, and it's my pleasure to introduce Mary Ellen Goodwin, the Senate Majority Whip, who's been a partner of mine on legislation for many, many years, and my colleague and classmate, Representative Teresa Tanzi, to come up and provide a few comments for this important day. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon. Today is certainly a proud day for many of us here in the Rhode Island General Assembly. Let me just say that I want to take this opportunity not to go over the details of the bill. I think that the majority leader in the House pretty much surmised the bills in all of their good work that we hope will happen here in Rhode Island. But let me take this opportunity to thank my counterpart, Representative Tanzi, who sponsored the House legislation to raise the age for gun and ammunition sales. And I am grateful, Teresa, for your partnership on this legislation. Let me also thank my Leader McCaffrey, who is here, and our chairwoman of our Judiciary Committee, Senator Cindy Coyne, for their hard work on all of these bills being signed today. I'd also like to take this opportunity to recognize several of my colleagues over here to the right who have joined us here for the bill signing. We have Chairman Josh Miller, Chairwoman Dawn Oyer, we have Senators Valverde and Senator Cowman, and I don't know if anybody else came in, I hope not. Oh, Senator Cano, Sandra Cano. Yeah, welcome to you all, and thank you all for being here. I'd also like to thank all of my colleagues who voted for this legislation last week. It really is a measure of time and energy. This bill actually has been around for a number of years, as many of the other bills have. I said to Senator Coyne, and early on in the session, I said, Senator Coyne, I have a feeling this will be the year we're going to do some gun bills. And so it brings us here to this day today. Let me just also thank Speaker Sakachi for his partnership, my Senate President, and my dear friend Dominic Ruggiero, and of course Governor McKee for his leadership on all of these bills. Raising the gun and ammunition purchase from age 18 to 21 is the right thing to do. This new law takes a common sense and an important step forward to help hopefully end gun violence here in the state. Again, thank you to everyone, to all of the advocates who put their heart and soul for so many years to bring us here today, for all of your efforts. It does not go unrecognized today. Thank you for your time, and thank you all for being here. It's now my pleasure to introduce a woman who needs no introduction, my friend and colleague, Teresa Tanzi.
Hello. This is overwhelming. This is wonderful. This is a joyous moment. But it's this moment that brings joy. It's everything else around it that has been really, really hard to take. The real reasons that led us to this day. I want to thank the survivors who are in this room today. I want to thank you for your courage, for constantly showing up, for speaking out, no matter how difficult it's been to relive those moments. It's unfortunate to say that we have more and more survivors every day in this country, and we mourn not just for the loss of life, but we mourn for those who have been impacted by it, who survive. The people who survive have a lifelong battle as well to endure. And I just want to take a moment to thank all of those who are here and acknowledging how difficult that is. I cannot help but acknowledge Linda Finn, who is honestly, Linda was here beside us, some of us who have been here for more than 10 years, when the Sandy Hook shooting happened. And she sprung into action much in the way that Shannon did on a local level, and just immediately knew we're legislators, we will act, we will legislate. And it's been many, many years in the making, but today is also a celebration of that work that you began, and I want to acknowledge that and honor you for those years. Absolutely. And I want to say I had 23 co-sponsors on this bill, and I did that very quickly as I ran around the room to gather them. This was a common sense, I mean, I know we say this a lot, but this bill to raise the age from 18 to 21 was about as basic as it gets. You had to be 21, in Rhode Island law as well as in federal law to purchase a a handgun. And for whatever reason, when we, modified that law or wrote the law originally in the late 50s, we left long guns open for a reason, right? They were not the high velocity. They were not the type of gun that's available commercially on the market today. And so after years of allowing that loophole to carry on, I'm very proud to say that this is the year that we've done it. Now, that's the obvious part about this bill, the one that everyone kind of gets a sense of, but we've gone one step further on this legislation. We've made it mandatory now to have a blue card or an orange card in order to purchase ammunition. Yeah. And this is a significant step as we have already banned ghost guns and we talk about the 3D printed guns and all that we can to do that. But banning them from getting ammunition is a key part to making sure that those folks aren't able to wreak the havoc that they are. I just want to say thank you again to everyone through all of the years that we've been pushing these forward. It is not the final step. As each of these massacres continue, they are learning more and more how to outsmart the system that exists. They learn how to outgun and have higher firepower, higher safety equipment for themselves in order to make it through a massacre. And we have to be smarter than them. The fight is not over. This is just one wonderful day in the long struggle to fight gun violence, and I want to thank you all.
Thank you, Representative Tansey. It's now my pleasure to welcome to the rostrum my friend and colleague, Senator Cindy Coyne, and Representative Justine Caldwell. Welcome.
I'm honored to be here today with all of you. As a mom of 4 children, a retired member of law enforcement, and a responsible legislator, this is an especially proud moment for me. Public safety has always been a central focus of mine here in the Senate. The large capacity magazine ban that I proudly sponsored with Representative Caldwell is another important step forward in keeping Rhode Island safe. Large capacity magazines have just one purpose, and that's to inflict mass death and destruction as quickly as possible, and we know that. They have no place on our streets or in our society. Setting a reasonable 10-round limit on magazine capacity represents meaningful action to make our state safer. It will reduce the risk of Rhode Island experiencing a tragedy like those we've seen in Buffalo, Uvalde, and so many other places. It does not and will not take anyone's right to own a gun or to own any specific kind of gun away. It tells Rhode Islanders that we have heard their calls for common sense gun reform and that we take their safety seriously. I want to thank the Senate leadership, President Ruggiero, Leader McCaffrey, and Whip Goodwin for their extraordinary efforts to get this bill to the floor for a vote just 1 week ago today. Yep. It was a heavy lift, but they got it done. Yes, they did. I also want to thank Leader McCaffrey and Whip Goodwin for their sponsorship of the other important gun bills that are being signed by the governor today. And thank you, Governor McKee, Speaker Shikachi, Leader Blazewski, for your support of common sense gun safety legislation. And also thank you to all of our colleagues who supported taking these necessary steps to get them to the floor, voted on, and today here to be signed. I deeply appreciate the advocacy and hard work of so many people on gun safety over the years, Moms Demand Action, Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence, and many, many more. Being part of the legislation like this has been a true highlight of my service here in the Senate, and let's continue working together to build a bright, safe, and prosperous future for Rhode Island. Thank you. And with that, it's my honor to introduce Representative Caldwell.
Thank you, everyone. I think we can all safely say Chairwoman Coyne knows how to leave on top. Can we give her a round of applause for all of her many years of hard work for public safety and on guns? Thank you, Chairwoman. Like Representative Tansey said, it is a little overwhelming to be here today, representing finally a day in this movement that is about hope over fear. I'm so grateful for all of you to be here. Like Shannon said, when I decided to run for office, people told me, oh, you can run for office, but don't talk about guns, right? You live in East Greenwich, it's a purple district, just stick with the easy, non-controversial things. Don't mention guns, it will polarize people. But I'm a Rhode Islander. I went to work public schools. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts for more years than I can count. I graduated from URI. I don't let my kids get a spoon with their dolls after soccer practice. And I know Rhode Islanders, and I knew Rhode Islanders cared more about keeping kids safe in school than they did about folks having the ability to shoot more than 10 rounds in rapid fire. And so I'm so pleased that we're here today to sign this bill, and so that we can help our kids no longer live in fear, not just while they're in school, but as they grow up. You've all heard me recently talk about the stories of my son, who is in 4th grade, and he's 10, the same age and grade as the children who were slaughtered in Uvalde. But last week, I also had a mock session here with a different group of 4th graders, and we debated a bill about whether or not kids should be able to have cell phones in school. Very popular topic among 4th graders in my personal experience as well. And one of the girls raised her hand in the back and said, well, I would like to have a gun a phone at school in case something bad happened, like a shooting, and I would be able to call someone. And this is the world we're leaving our kids without the action that we're taking today, and that's why it's so important. I do need to also give some thank yous. First of all, to all the advocates here, the Coalition Against Gun Violence, Moms Demand Action. You all are the boots on the ground. You know elections matter, and you did a lot of that hard work in elections to get the people up here who are here today, like Senator Valverde and I came in together. We owe a debt of gratitude to you, and so does the state of Rhode Island, so thank you. I also want to say thank you to every single one of my House colleagues who supported this bill, not just the ones who pressed green, but when you look around this room, you're going to see the people who were fighting for these bills longer than I've been here, will fight for more bills probably long after I'm here, and did the hard work of talking to leadership, having difficult conversations with our colleagues, and having difficult conversations all day, every day to make sure this bill passed. I want to give a particular shout out, and I don't know how many of them are here, to Leader Blazewski, our Majority Whip, Katie Kazarian, Representative Jason Knight, who is in the back, and Chairwoman Carol McEntee. Without those 4 people, I think I can safely say we wouldn't be here today. And so I want to make sure that they get a round of applause as well. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Senate Majority Leader Mike McCaffrey and my colleague Freshman of the Year, I guess, Representative Leonela Felix.
Thank you, Representative. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to be here today as we take these steps that we have passed some real legislation that's going to have an impact in reducing gun violence. The bills follow a number of mass shootings, but they are not a reaction. We have been working on these bills all session. Chairwoman Coyne has been working since day one on these bills to develop and improve them over the course of the year. And she's going to be sorely missed next year because she's decided not to run for re-election. And she deserves a round of applause. Among the laws passed in recent years, we removed firearms from domestic abusers. We prohibited untraceable ghost guns and 3D printer guns. We banned straw purchases. We outlawed guns on school grounds. And we passed a strong red flag legislation. I want to thank Majority Whip Goodwin and Senator Coyne for their hard work on all these issues, as well as work on other bills that are being signed here today. These bills wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my colleagues in the Senate who worked on these bills and encouraged their passage over the years and had the courage last week to take the right vote at the right time. Like bills passed in previous years, these guns take reasonable steps to reduce gun violence, and while respecting the rights of gun owners. The bill I sponsored, which prohibits the possession of loaded rifles and shotguns in public, is another example of common sense step to reduce likelihood of gun violence in our state. By simply asking gun owners that when they transport their weapons, transport them safely and appropriately. It takes away no one's right to own a firearm or defend themselves. We all deserve to feel safe in the places like grocery stores, schools, churches, and out on a park. And carrying loaded rifles and shotguns in these public areas creates immediate and unnecessary danger to others. These are emotional issues, and certainly we had a spirited debate in the Senate. While the process had its challenges and moments of disagreement, I hope all Rhode Islanders have a different takeaway. At a time when so many questions are raised as whether or not government can work, we have shown how much government can accomplish. The General Assembly acted and passed these legislations that an overwhelming majority of Rhode Islanders wanted. And I want to thank Governor McKee for your hard work, Speaker Sakachi, and our Senator Ruggiero, and colleagues in the House and Senate on both sides who took the time to participate in this process. And I want to, it's certainly an honor and pleasure to be here for this bill signing. And I want to introduce to you the Rookie of the Year, Representative Felix.
Thank you so much. So can I get a nameplate with Rookie of the Year by the time we leave this place? Because I like that title. So we can work on that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Representative Leonela Felix. I go by Leo, and I use she, her, hers pronoun. I want to thank, first and foremost, every single one of you in this room, those that are watching, those that couldn't be here today, and those that in this movement we represent. Because of the violence that they've gone through, the families, the violence that they've gone through, they are the reasons that we are here today. And we cannot forget why we do the work that we do. It is difficult. It is daunting. The amount of hours that we spend in committee listening to testimony on both sides of the aisle, the emails, the calls, it was a lot of work and even predates me. This has been a movement that has been in the works for the last 10 years, way before my time here. And I really want to say thank you to every single person who has carried these legislations, who have supported these legislations to get it to the place that we are here today, which is getting them signed into law. So thank you, every single one of you. So if we said this legislation will close a really dangerous loophole in Rhode Island law that allows the open carry of loaded shotguns and rifles in public. And this is known as open carry. And as many of you know, and as we all witnessed in the last year, we witnessed a lot of armed protesters out there openly carrying weapons at various protests across the country. But unfortunately, this is nothing new. We've seen this before because armed extremists have long used firearms and permissive open carry laws to threaten and intimidate others at rallies, at churches, at electoral campaigns, offices, and many, many more places. These intimidation campaigns can be mounted because in most states, like here at home, it was perfectly legal to carry loaded shotguns and rifles in public until today. Allowing the open carry of firearms is a dangerous policy that is opposed by law enforcement and the public as a whole. And that's because we know the data shows that having a visible gun has been found to make people more aggressive, which means that it makes it more likely in a disagreement to end violently. So it also creates substantial confusion for law enforcement officers when they're trying to address a crisis, impeding their ability to really protect our communities. And we saw this in 2016 in Dallas, Texas, when law enforcement officers were not able to distinguish between people who were openly carrying lawful firearms between the people that were responsible for the attack. So this is a common sense approach to an issue that has long plagued our communities. Finally, as Leader McCaffrey said, this is a reasonable restriction entirely consistent with the Second Amendment. So we shouldn't wait for a tragedy like has happened, like has been mentioned, across the country to happen here at home for us to take action. And I am really, really proud that we did not wait, that we got it done this session and did not wait one more year. So thank you. They're taking back my Rookie of the Year title. I forgot. And next with us is Sydney Monstream-Quas, the board chair of Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence.
Thank you all for being here today to share in the powerful success of our collective efforts. It has taken 10 years of hard work and collaboration to build the support needed to pass these 3 life-saving bills. Together, dozens of campaign partners, thousands of advocates, the majority of the General Assembly, and all of our general officers, we have passed bills that will save lives and protect our families, our children, and our communities from further gun violence. Looking out here now, I know that we have unprecedented power and momentum to continue to strengthen Rhode Island's gun violence prevention laws. We are making history in Rhode Island in this small but feisty state. We are a beacon of hope for the rest of the country in leading by example. Our tireless efforts are significant to my family. June 23rd marks the heartbreaking anniversary of my cousin Johnny's murder in 1998. One gun, one bullet, took one beautiful life and a loving father, and that shattered my family, as I know many of you out here know what that's like. Too many of us here have lost loved ones, our children, our siblings, our cousins, our friends to gun violence. We have experienced the deep trauma that a gun can cause. And we know the data, but how do we measure the heartbreak? In the last 6 weeks, brutal mass shootings have broken all of our hearts. These massacres broke our souls. What did not move people 10 years ago moved people this year. So being here today to recognize the passage of these 3 critical bills is bittersweet. It is certainly success and brings so much hope, but so much blood and tears have been shed along the way. But we know, looking out here, we will continue to advocate for stronger laws that will help decrease gun violence in communities, especially those that are traumatized by frequent gun violence in our Black and brown communities. To do anything less is not an option. There is much work to be done, but today I thank all of you here, advocates, legislators, past and present, community leaders, partnering organizations, law enforcement, teachers, students, state officials, and courageous survivors. You have played a critical role in the successful passage of these 3 bills, and you took action. Your efforts have added oxygen to the room, allowing our children and families to breathe another day, another year, and a full lifetime. So thank you for your tireless efforts.